Well, hey, Becoming Me. I am so excited to introduce you to my warrior friend, Darren. Darren, welcome to Becoming Me.
Hi, Emily. Hey, glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, this interview has been such like a high point for me because so many of our becoming stories, I maybe am only virtual friends, like we've met on Instagram, social media, and y'all, I have the privilege of knowing Darren in real life for the last several years. You have just been an inspiration and encouragement to me on my becoming journey. And just watching how you show up and you lead and you passionately pursue becoming who God made you to be every day. I mean, it inspires me. And I feel privileged to know you. So thank you for being here today.
Hey, thanks, Emily. You know, it's funny. I feel the same way about you. I'm inspired every time I get around you. Your energy and which the story of your life as well has inspired me. So I think we feed off each other every time we get together.
Yes, we do. That's a good way to put it for sure. So, Darren, if someone didn't know you, if they, had never met you before, who is Darren?
Well, that's a great question. I'm still learning every day. I'm a native of Ocala, Florida, born and raised. I did take a few years and move over to another city, but I'm back now in Ocala. I've been married for going on 31 years to my wife Peggy. I have one son, Tyler. He's a student. He's 24 years old, and we moved not too far from the church actually, but as far as things that, about me, I've been in the IT industry for going on 33 years. I've been in executive leadership there. I'm actually working the chief security office for a large global IT telecommunications company, and I really love that line of work. It's a big mission to protect critical assets in our nation, especially today.
Absolutely. No, the work that you do is so important. And I've had the privilege, like I shared a moment ago, of knowing you. And I know your story. And I'm excited for the BecomingMe.TV community to hear your journey today. So would you just mind taking some time and sharing your story with us? Like, what has made you who you are today?
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me. It's just an honor and a privilege to be here. If I could go all the way back, or I can start in the middle, but I'll kind of start out where, I was raised in a church family. My parents both went to church. My dad used to be a Pentecostal choir leader, and he'd kick up the dust on the floor. So I was raised in that environment. I did, have those rebellious years when I got in high school, and I worked a ton of jobs and just strayed away from God at that time. I probably worked 15, 20 jobs, and then God led me back to working in IT in the late 80s. And then he sent me mentors. I recommitted my life to Christ. I met my wife at that time, around the same time as well. And we started going to church together. And then we got married in 1991. But I just found it amazing how God always put people in my path along the way to where I am now. So, and just one example of this little guy named Dr. Townsend. He was an adjunct professor in the IT industry. He was he basically in the early 90s told me, hey, there's this thing called the World Wide Web, and if you go and learn computer networking, you'll have a career for life. And he was just a mentor that I reached out to say, hey, should I go back to college? And this guy's a PhD, and I figured he'd say go to college, and he said, no, don't go to college, learn about computers and networking. And so that's the path that I chose. And so I stayed in that field, and I've been with the company I'm at now for about 19 years. But like I said, I've been doing it total for 33 years. And spent, when I was there, again, along the way, God put people in my path, godly people, and it gave me an opportunity to share. So I went into executive leadership, had large teams. And people always ask me, why are you different? Why not, everybody's over here doing this and cursing and doing these things. And that's not who you are, but you're still a happy guy. And you just love life, and so it gave me a chance to share, who I am and why I have the peace that God has given me all these years. And then I had something happen in my life that was pretty rough. It was probably the darkest day of my life. In 2008, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And so that was a real blow. I was 41 years old at the time. And so didn't know what to do, had no idea, just, and then my first reaction is, how do I control this myself? What can I do? And instead of giving it to God, but it didn't take me long to realize that I couldn't control the outcome, but God knows the outcome, right? So I just turned it over to Him, and my life from that point forward became amazing. I really learned faith at that time. And, I didn't really understand what faith was really. I thought, you learn it all the years, but when something happens like that, it tests your faith, right? And I think God puts us through those challenges to test our faith and to make us realize, hey, if you just put it in my hands, I got it. And so coming out of that situation, I met some people along the way that started me to running, and I started to raise money for prostate cancer awareness. And so I started to become more of a servant to others at that point. So I think God, I thought I was a servant before, but that was a turning point in my life to what can I do? God, what do you have? What is the purpose for my life? And how do you want me to serve others? And that really changed my whole perspective. And so I started to serve others. And then I did start to run, and I said, I'm going to run a 5K. And I never was, a runner. I played softball and competition and things, but I was never endurance and a runner. And so I did a 5K, then I did another 5K and another one and a 10K. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to do a half marathon. And along the way, I'm telling my story. I did blog my story along the way of my recovery. And so then I said, hey, I'm going to run a marathon, a full marathon, 26.2 miles. And, again, never ran before, probably 6 months prior. And so I made the commitment, and not only did God give me one marathon, He gave me 2 marathons in the same year.
Wow.
So in 2011, I had signed up for the Disney Marathon, and then I had signed up for the lottery for the New York City Marathon. And so I actually won a lottery ticket to run in the New York City Marathon the same year. So I ended up running 2 full marathons. And me not being a runner, because I'm a big guy, and I'm not really a true runner. I'm not somebody who gets out on the path every morning, but I dedicated my life to it. And God showed me the way. I met so many great people along the way. And it was about the journey, that whole journey. It wasn't about the destination, because when you get to the finish line, it's great. But so many things I learned along the way about myself, about my faith, about who I really am. And then, how I should be serving others along the way. And the whole marathon is, you think it's just an individual accomplishment, but it really isn't. Your family's involved, your friends are involved. And while I was in the marathon, people were sending me scriptures, texting me scriptures. People were sending me prayers. I had put the first marathon, I asked that people send me people that I could pray for. And I wrote all the names down, people that were going through cancer treatments and things. And I put that on my side. And at mile 20, I almost quit the race. I'm laying on the side of the road. This is at the Disney Marathon. I'm laying on the side of the road. I have that, my inspiration towel, I called it. Probably had over 100 names on the towel, and I just kept grasping that. And this young lady who was wearing Mickey Mouse ears, she comes by. She has both knees with ice on them, and she's like, "What are you doing over there?" And I said, I don't know if I can make it any further. I'm at mile 20, and I've give out. I don't know if I can do it. I had cramps in every part of my body, and I had cramps in muscles I didn't even know I had. And she's like, "Get on up and let's go." And so it's just funny, the encouragement that she gave me and that she shared with me. We made it to the next, we made it to the next medical tent. They gave me treatment, and I said, I'm going to keep going because of her. So one person inspired me to keep going. I kept getting text messages, and I finished that race. It took me 7 hours to get through it because of all the excruciating pain at the end. But again, God showed me that, the fear that I had of, not being able to finish and am I going to let people down? I just trusted Him through the process, and He sent an angel along the way with Mickey Mouse ears. Doesn't matter who it is, to help me to encourage me to finish. So, and then I went on to do the New York City Marathon, and I ended up doing about 40 or so endurance events, including the Spartan series, the Spartan Trifecta. Yeah, and I ran a 9-hour race through the mountains in Monterey, California, to complete the Spartan series, the Spartan Beast race, about 40 obstacles or so. But it was, again, it was another one of those. I flew out by myself. There's nowhere to train for mountains in Florida. So I just went out and did it. And it was tough. But again, God sent someone else. It was somebody, and we were in the first 2 or 3 miles. This person was going the same pace. Turns out he was in IT, and he and I stayed together the whole race, encouraged each other when we were, because we had to, sometimes you would climb a mountain, they would hand you, and you get to the bottom, and they'd hand you a 75-pound sandbag, put it on your shoulder, and have to go back up. Whew. And so things like that. So
oh my goodness.
It was a pretty amazing experiences that God, and again, because of my faith, and I had that peace and no fear anymore in my life, to where hey, God made me to be able to do anything I want. I can move mountains, right? So I just had that mentality the whole time, and so really enjoyed that process, and then in the process, continue to raise awareness for prostate cancer for others, and try to bless as many people as I could. And then TLC came into my life at that time. Transitions Life Center was a nonprofit that my brother-in-law and sister-in-law started. And so God was preparing me for this day to become part of Transitions Life Center. And that's a story within itself.
So tell me, and I know what TLC is, and we have the privilege of partnering with them at Church of Hope, but share for those who might not know what Transitions Life Center is all about, because it's incredible. And you're right, it is a story in and of itself.
Well, thank you for asking about Transitions Life Center. We call it TLC. But my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, I have 3 nephews who have a genetic disorder. It's a very rare case. And so when my oldest nephew became of age to graduate school at 22 years old, you have to leave school, the school system. They went and did some tours around to see what was available for services that were outside of the program for special needs. And there wasn't a lot of choices, especially faith-based choices. So they got together with another family with $1,000, I think we started with, and got together and said, let's, we're not sure what we're going to do here, but let's come up with some ideas. And so we started, and I started out as a volunteer. My wife, Peggy, she was the original board member who's still on the board today, back from 2012. And so they got together, and so the first thing we did was a summer camp. So we had probably 30, 40 folks with intellectual disabilities, and we did a summer camp. And so that's how we started the first couple of years. We decided to go to a Saturday program, so we had one day a month where we do Saturdays, and we kind of increased that. And so they would come over, and it would be socialization, life skills. We do all types of activities, because what happens is when they leave the school system, a lot of them don't have the means or the transportation to go see their friends, to get socialization. And so we wanted to create an environment to where, hey, they can meet their friends. And then it also gives us an opportunity to minister to them as well. And so that was the big component, is being a faith-based organization, is how can we continue to minister them to their needs? And we just listened to God. We just, we kept praying, and we just kept trusting in the Lord. Now, we did have our naysayers, right? That would say we're moving a little too fast. And we did move, we moved really fast. And so, going from 2012 to where we are today, and as I kind of tell you that progression, you'll see over a 10-year period, God has provided some amazing opportunities for our members. We call them members. And so we went from that Saturday program to one day a week, and it filled up very quickly. And so we were borrowing facilities, or not borrowing, we were loan facilities from different churches, including Church of Hope. We started over in the Living Waters facility there. They let us use their facilities. And so we started that one day a week. And then it became very obvious that God wanted us to move quicker. So we went to 5 days a week very quick. Yes. And so, and that filled up, and we hired, we didn't really have the money to hire. We wanted to get the word out. So we hired some folks, and we didn't have the money. We just did it on faith. Yeah. we just prayed. I mean, our to me, my mantra has always been Romans 8:31. That's the first Bible verse I learned. Miss Dolly, who was my Sunday school teacher at Ocala Church of God when I
I
was
love
a
it.
young man, she would always say, if God is for us, who could be against us, right?
Yep.
That was, and she still, when I would see her over the years, she would ask me, "What's that verse again?" And so that's always been my mantra. If God is, with me, then
Mhm.
who could be against me, right? And so we just kept that faith throughout the whole process, even though some people thought we were crazy. And sometimes we look in the mirror and say, "Are we crazy?" But we just trusted the Lord, and so if we fast forward a little bit, because I could tell you this story for hours. We went from 5 days a week. We started to fill up. We had to, the board of directors, which I was on. I actually became a director. Then I became the president of Transitions Life Center in
Okay.
2006. In 2006, we became the CEP Nonprofit Business of the Year, which was an honor for our organization being so new. We were 4 years old. And then I stayed president for 5 years. And recently I stepped down because I wanted to give someone else an opportunity. I felt like God wanted me to
Mhm.
help in a different way, which I'm helping in a different way, still involved, heavily involved. And so, but during that time, over that 5 year period, we acquired 22 acres of property. We were also, thankfully, Church of Hope helped us out in your mission, because we had a facility to go to because the other facility was being sold. So you
Mhm.
took us in, so we had a place to go and meet, and our members came there and they loved it, and they loved your staff and everything. So we so much appreciate that. But during that process, 22 acres of property, we raised through a block grant with the county, and then some very generous donors that God sent our way. We raised $1.3 million, and we built
Wow.
a 5,000 square foot community center, and dedicated that. It was just such a blessing. And then now, since that time, so we have the 5,000 square foot facility. Since that time, we've put in a pavilion with picnic tables and outdoor facilities, where we have a basketball court now. We're getting ready to get the court, the goals up, and the lining and things. We put out an outdoor fitness center. We put in an outdoor um, swings for special
Mhm.
needs, right? So that
Mhm.
way everybody has the opportunity to swing. We're actually getting a greenhouse. We won a grant for a
Wow.
greenhouse, so we're going to build a greenhouse. And a lot of the programs that we have there are during the day. They don't just come and sit and talk. It's not that
Yeah.
environment. We have church services. We have someone that comes in and sings. We have guest pastors that come in as well, that come in and do a service. We have a computer recycling program, so people bring in their old computers, and our members take them apart. So, it
Wow.
really helps them live their life to their fullest potential, right? And it gives
Mhm.
them a purpose and hope. We all need a purpose in life, and we all need that hope. And just to see, when you walk in, and you've seen it, you
Oh
walk in and
yeah.
see their faces. I
Oh
mean, it's
yes.
just the most loving, caring environment that you could ever be a part of. And I always play Santa Claus every year. That's my thing. So last year I did it from the North Pole because of COVID. I couldn't do it in person, so I did it from the North Pole
Oh,
via Zoom.
that's
It was great,
awesome.
but I was able to do it in person again this year. And so,
That's
during the
cool.
day, though, we have facilities where we teach them how to make beds, how to wash clothes.
Wow.
So we're teaching life
It's
skills,
amazing.
and so we're doing a lot of things to challenge them on a daily basis, and they get that socialization as well. They get to see their friends, and so we've actually outgrown the building, and we're getting ready to start the next phase of fundraising to add on to the building. We probably need another 2,500 to 5,000 square feet more, because we have a waiting list.
Wow.
So it's God has really provided. We went from $1,000 10 years ago to
Wow.
a $500,000 budget per year. We've got about 12, 14 employees, full-time employees,
Incredible.
and it's just, God continues to provide. We just did a partnership with the University of Florida, so they have some of their occupational therapy program that comes down and works with our members, and so
Wow.
we're doing outreach in the community and as well. So there's a ton more, but like I said, I could talk about this for hours.
I love your passion for TLC, and really, and even hearing the threads of your story, how, starting way back when you were younger, that one person saw potential in you and said, hey, come learn this computers, this internet thing. You'll have a career for life. And you step into your God-given career, life's going good. And then you hit a very deep, painful moment. And I love what you shared, Darren, that it was the journey that prepared you for, you had no idea years ago that Transitions Life Center would become a reality or even be a thing. And God was preparing you every step along the way, bringing the right people into your journey, preparing you to be that right person for so many other people. I just, that's amazing.
Yeah, I tell you, just if thinking back and just thinking about all the people that God sent my way, and also at TLC during that process, it's just amazing, to
Yeah.
watch God at work, and you think, oh, we've got this, and He just shows up every time, all
Yeah.
the time, every time, at the right
Yes.
time. So you just
Yep.
think, we don't have the money, we can't do this and we can't do that, but our mantra again was, if God before us, who could be against us, right? And so we
Yes.
just lived, we lived by faith. We prayed, and we continue to do that today. So we want to continue that on.
Mhm.
Again, we're going to stay a faith-based organization,
Yep.
and that's our goal. And we want to continue that growth. And some of the next phases, we'd like to do some housing, build a respite home
Oh,
to give
cool.
rest for families.
Yep.
And then also build housing as well for that population, so they have a place to go. Because in the beginning, the dream of my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and the other families was, when something happens to them down the road, where are they going to go? Where's a safe, loving,
Yeah.
caring, faith-based, a God-filled place, where the Holy Spirit thrives and takes care of our members and their families and all. So that's really our long-term goal.
Mhm. I love it. It's amazing. And everybody, we will include in the show notes Transitions Life Center's website, so you can go learn more about TLC and you can continue to follow the journey as well. But Darren, if you were having a cup of coffee with someone else on their own becoming journey, what would you say to encourage them to be who God made them to be?
That is a great question. And for me, it's serving others. It's valuing people, right? It's because we have a tendency to be selfish, and we think about, our human flesh wants us to be selfish, right? And
Hmm.
worry about ourselves. But if we serve others, there is so much more that comes back to us. God just blesses us, a thousandfold over
Hmm.
what you give, right? So I always say, anytime I'm doing mentoring and coaching, and you mentioned before John Maxwell, I'm a John Maxwell
Yep.
coach.
Yep.
And I think it's been 5 or 6 years now, 6 years, I think it was.
That's
I know it goes
amazing.
by fast, but John is all about valuing people. And
Hmm.
so I've seen it real time, I've seen it real time. So a lot of the coaching and mentoring that I do now is really based on servant leadership, and that's serving others, and that's leading like Jesus, right? Jesus, there's like 4 pillars: the heart of a great leader, the habits of a great leader, the
Hmm.
head of a great leader, and the hands of a great leader. And Jesus was all those things, right? And John Maxwell, the basis for everything that he teaches is in the Bible. You can find everything that he teaches in the Bible, right? So you just got to have a heart. You got to. And what I tell people too is, like, don't try to do everything yourself. Turn it over
Yeah.
to him, right?
Yeah.
And so to have that heart for people and to turn it over and be fully committed, it's going to make you a better leader. It's going to benefit all those around you. And again, it comes back to you a thousandfold. And it's also having the right habits, right? And
Yeah.
that's also having, time in prayer and solitude. Jesus in the Bible spent a lot of time in solitude, right?
Yeah,
And
he
in
did.
prayer. So it's developing the right habits and learning the word and reading the word, and understanding and applying it to your life. And it's also your head, right? It's having your head right, um, and then being totally obedient, right?
Mhm.
And again, I mentioned that before, is don't try to do it all yourself. Turn it over to him. It's I just, that's the hardest thing though, for us in our flesh, right? Is for us to try to
Oh,
turn
yeah.
everything over, because our first reaction is to react. But
Uh-huh.
really, Christ wants us to respond and not
Mhm.
react to things. When we react to things, it's usually fear based or pride based. but when we respond to things, that's more of an emotional intelligence, and that's really drawing from the wisdom that you get from the word, right? That God is set forth in us. And then lastly, the hands, the hands of a great leader, someone that is helping others, getting in the trenches and working for the kingdom, right? Because it's really to glorify him, right? At the end of the day. So we have to do God's work, whether that's TLC or working at Church of Hope or whatever, facility, or however you're helping people in the community, but getting out and doing the work, because there's such a need in the world, and there's so many people hurting. And then, God sent us here to take care of those, right? That could take care of themselves. And so I'm just honored to be, part of that.
Yeah.
And then again, the whole John Maxwell philosophy around just serving others and valuing people, but also taking care of yourself as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the best way, I mean, that foundation, take care of yourself so you can best serve and value people. But I love, and that really is how you show up to every environment that I've been around you, and you show up to add value to people, and you really live that out. So, Darren, if somebody wanted to connect with you online, they wanted to connect with TLC online, how could people find you online? And then also we'll have all these links in the show notes so you guys can easily connect with Darren and Transitions Life Center.
All right. Well, if you want to, I use LinkedIn a lot, and so the Messenger and LinkedIn. So if you just go to James Darren Ritch in LinkedIn, you'll find me there, and you'll see if it's related to cybersecurity, it'll be me. It'll be me.
Perfect.
And then I'm also on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram as well. I don't think I have it's at Darren.Ritch on Instagram. I'm not sure about Facebook. I haven't used that, but you can just look me up, Darren Ritch, on Facebook. I think I'm the only Darren Ritch. There's one other Darren Ritch in the United States, and he doesn't look like me. So
perfect. We'll link it too, so you don't have to worry. People send in random friend requests. That's awesome.
And then Transitions Life Center is www.tlcocala.org. tlcocala.org. And so that's how you can find out more information about TLC and Transitions Life Center.
Awesome. Darren, thank you so much for sharing your story, who you are, who you're becoming. And thank you for just how you show up every single day, serving, adding value to people, making this world better and brighter. You inspire me. I appreciate you and Team Ritch so much.
Emily, thanks again for the opportunity to be here. I really enjoyed the conversation. And again, I'll be praying for you. And I'm so glad that you do this, because it's so inspiring to others. And so I'm glad to be a part of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.